Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to talk about afternoon tea because if you are an Anglophile, you probably have a borderline cheesy love for the notion of afternoon tea, but you might not even fully grasp what is afternoon tea. If you resonated with that just a little bit, hello, my name is Nicole. I am a Canadian that now lives in England, and this month, or over the next 2 weeks I should say, we are talking all things Anglophile, and not just the things that you find online that you might not know if they're accurate or not, or perhaps you come over to England like I did, and then everything that you thought England was going to be based off of what you heard was nothing what the experience was like. If that is you, you will want to subscribe so you see the rest of the videos in this series. Again, I'm an Anglophile, and so I have naturally gravitated towards going for afternoon teas for so many events in my life. And the thing is that the first proper afternoon tea that I went to, it wasn't cheap by no stretch of the imagination, and it was at the Fairmont Hotel McDonald in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I went there with my girlfriends for my birthday, and don't get me wrong, the scenery was amazing. It was so grand. But I remember getting this afternoon tea, or it was a champagne tea, which I'm gonna go into some of the differences between the different types of teas you can get. It was terrible. This afternoon tea was terrible. It was a loose leaf tea, and I think what happened is that when there are venues, especially in North America, when there are venues that they don't have a lot of afternoon teas, these teas end up going stale. And so I remember having this tea and it was so weak, and I'm like, this tastes like nothing. The pastries that we had, because usually, I mean, I'm gonna go into this in a second, but there will be a 3-tiered platter, and I remember these pastries were so dry, and I didn't say this to anybody, but I was so disappointed because it was so expensive, and you want this luxurious experience, but you also want it to taste good, and it just was not that. Brimming with quintessential sweet and savory treats, a sparkling afternoon tea involves a glass of champagne to add that extra special touch, making this the perfect treat if you're celebrating or making a memorable occasion. So as you could see, it was a beautiful location, right? And I look so young and I look so thin. That was a few years ago. But ever since moving to the UK, I feel like I've had a lot more of an authentic experience when it comes to afternoon tea. And it's crazy because when I was gonna film this video for you, I was going to go into one of my favorite places in Bristol to go for an afternoon tea. And I might still go in there, but I just won't go in there for this video. Because then I realized I have so many bits of footage over the years of me going for afternoon tea that I could just show you all these different moments. And so with that, one of my favorite places to go for an afternoon tea, this is just like a regular afternoon tea. It's not bougie, but it is delicious. Is a place called Ashwell & Co. It was formerly called Heartfelt Vintage, and I have gone there for afternoon tea, I think 3 or 4 times now. It is stunning. Afternoon tea is a meal composed of sandwiches, usually cut delicately into fingers. scones with clotted cream and jam, sweet pastries, and cakes. Afternoon tea is a British food tradition of sitting down for an afternoon treat of tea, sandwiches, scones, and cake. Afternoon tea is served at around 4 p.m. When afternoon tea became fashionable in the early 19th century, thanks to Anna, the Duchess of Bedford, it was never intended to replace dinner, but rather to fill in the long gap between lunch and dinner at a time when dinner was served as late as almost 8 p.m. Lifestyles have changed since those times, and afternoon tea is now a treat rather than a stopgap. The working lives of many do not allow the time to sit down and to enjoy scones and cakes in the late afternoon, so for many, the ritual is now saved for a holiday and a special treat. The tradition is still quintessentially British, and many Brits still make time to sit and enjoy the propriety and civility of this, the quaintest of English dining customs, just not on a daily basis. One renowned place to find a true afternoon tea is the Ritz in London. Their afternoon tea service is in such high demand that bookings generally must be made months in advance. In Yorkshire, there are the famous Betty Tea Rooms, and you can actually see us visit the Betty Tea Rooms in one of our vlogs when we went to York. The Betty Tea Rooms have barely changed since the day that they opened in 1919. You can see it's in a cute little shop. So this shop, they've got clothing that they sell there. There's a florist downstairs. She did our wedding flowers. You can do hen do's or stayettes, as we say in North America. You can do that there. They also do catering as well. So they wear so many hats, and they've just opened their second location. It is my favorite afternoon tea. I think sometimes people think that when you go for afternoon tea, you want all the pomp and circumstance, but sometimes you want something that tastes delicious. And truly, this afternoon tea at Ashwell & Co. is my favorite, like normal experience. I find when you go somewhere a little bit fancier, besides the one in Edmonton, it is like more like fine dining, little savory tidbits that are on the plate. Whereas at Ashwell & Co., it was like traditional. It was finger sandwiches, scones or scones. Tell me how you say it in the comments. And then on the top will be some type of pastry. So looking back on this footage, I came to see that I like to go for afternoon tea for my birthday. I went for an afternoon tea at the Pump Room in Bath for my birthday 2 years ago? I think 3 years ago. And it was beautiful. I'm gonna show you the clips in a second, and what I love about the Pump Room is that they've got what's it called? Like a 3-person, I wanna say quartet, but a quartet is 4. You'll see the footage and you know what I mean. There is a violinist, there's a cellist, and there is a pianist, and it completely sets the tone. Now, one of the things that you'll find when you go to these kind of bigger places, when there is an afternoon tea, there's a time slot. So by time my friend and I finished, well, in this first bit of footage, it was just Paul and I, and then we went on a tour of the Roman baths, which you will see in another video. But in another clip that I'm going to show you, where I go to the Pump Room, this was just this past summer with my friend Leanne. By the time we finished our afternoon tea, the next set of people were already coming in. And so again, I think these are some of the things that you'll have to think of when you are coming for an afternoon tea, especially in these grand places. It's idyllic, it's what you've romanticized, and then you're shuffled out because there's just so many people that are trying to have the same experience, especially if you go to somewhere like Bath. The origins of afternoon tea show clearly it was the preserve of the rich in the 19th century. For workers in the newly industrialized Britain, tea time had to wait until after work. By that hour, tea was generally served with heartier dishes which were substantially more than just tea and cakes. Workers needed sustenance after a day of hard labor, so the after-work meal was more often hot and filling, accompanied by a pot of good, strong tea to revive the flagging spirits. Today, the evening meal in working class household is still often called tea, but as working patterns have changed yet again, many households now refer to the evening meal as supper. Unless you're in our household, and Paul definitely still refers to supper as tea. Now, at the time of me filming this, Bridgerton Season 2 has just come out today. And if you are looking for that Bridgerton experience, I would definitely check out the Pump Room in Bath. So Bath is a thermal hot spring where they used to go take baths. The Romans came and made a big bathhouse out of it. So when you go to the Pump Room, it's on the same, it's like literally the same corner where the Roman baths are, Bath Abbey is, and well, the Pump Room and Thermae. So if you go to the Thermae Bath Spa, that's where you're gonna go and you get to swim in these waters. If you go to the Pump Room, that is where you are going to go and dine for afternoon tea. And I think it's called the Pump Room. Well, actually, I'll tell you in a second. And then the Roman baths is where you can see the actual baths. Like you can even go down and underneath into where the original baths were. And so it is such a cool experience. Now, did you just hear me kind of fumble on my words when I said the Gainsborough and then I changed it and I said the Pump Room? Well, that's because I've also gone for afternoon tea at the Gainsborough. Now, the Gainsborough is the hotel that is connected with the bath. So you can even experience the thermal waters of Bath Spa at the Gainsborough Hotel. Now, they put on a delicious Christmas afternoon tea, and we wanted to do it the year before, but it was a pandemic, and then we wanted to do it last year, but there were still so many restrictions that we didn't. But next year, that will be a Christmas tradition for sure. And then last but not least, I want to talk about the most recent afternoon tea that I have gone to, and that was at a hotel in the countryside called Bishop Stroh Hotel and Spa. And so we did this in a outside dome, and it was amazing. Picture you're in the idyllic countryside and just it's sunny for once, but even if it was raining, it would have been so atmospheric. They've got speakers built into these domes, so you can put on whatever music you like. If it's sunny, you can have something uplifting, and if it is raining, you can have something like cozy and calm. And so we went for a champagne tea, which I'm gonna be telling you all about when you see the footage in this next clip. Okay, so we just made it inside our dome. There's a Dyson over here. There is like, you can connect.
Does that blow cold air out?
Are you that hot?
Pretty warm.
It's boiling. And then you can connect your music, which I'm waiting for Paul to do that in a second. And then we have our afternoon tea. Let me show you. Okay, so we've got finger sandwiches, scones, and then she said passion fruit something, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yep.
Trifle.
Trifle. So it looks really, really good. Cannot wait to dig in. And then we have some champagne. I'm assuming it's the manager here. He is just out of this world good, isn't he?
Yeah, he is amazing.
And then we've got our tea here. So
I feel like he can make a lot of money doing courses in like
hospitality,
yeah, customer services.
Yeah, definitely. He's awesome. I've gone on for the last 11 minutes to basically tell you that I really have dipped my toes in when it comes to having an afternoon tea. And so these are some of the things that you are going to want to ensure that your afternoon tea has if you are making an afternoon tea at home. Because the last clip I'm going to show you is my birthday. My birthday this year, I ended up having an afternoon tea at home, and I definitely have learned from that experience. There are certain things I would do a little bit differently, but let's talk about some of the traditional foods that you'll find in afternoon tea. What you will find at a traditional afternoon tea. A typical traditional English afternoon tea menu involves an array of crustless sandwiches followed by scones with clotted cream and jam, plus a selection of additional sweet cakes and pastries, all washed down with Britain's favorite beverage, tea. So what do you think? Are you going to go for afternoon tea when you visit England for the first time? I definitely think that you should. I totally forgot. I went for afternoon tea when I was in York, and I could have shown you that, but maybe this video would have been like 20 minutes long. Anyways, my friends, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've learned a little bit about the differences between afternoon teas, and that when you come to England and you can order a afternoon tea or champagne tea or a high tea, you will know the differences amongst all of the variations of afternoon tea. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.